Hello, I'm Cosmic and welcome to Indie City Management Game 1849, developed by Somasim. The premise of the game is, well, obviously it's 1849 and gold has just been discovered in California. New towns are popping up left, right and centre, from mining towns to farming communities. Now, I'm English and I'm not much of an old-timey prospector type, but dagnabbit will give it a jolly good go. 1849 is all about city building and management. Straight off the bat, those who played games like Pharaoh and the Caesar series will be instantly hit with a sense of nostalgia. I played the Caesar games extensively and huge comparisons can be drawn to them. It's clear that 1849 was heavily inspired by those games. The game has both story mode and sandbox mode. Story mode sees you progress through a variety of towns with different objectives as the Californian gold rush takes a hold. You'll be building mining towns, farming towns and towns for educated families to live in. Once you start, you'll start with a storage depot where all your resources will be gathered. You'll have to build homes for people to live in and start some agriculture as people need to eat. Buildings cost money and you only have a finite amount. Housing is a source of income, however, as you can accumulate wealth from their rent. However, production buildings do cost money and you have to pay wages. As your town increases in both standards and resources, housing will also upgrade. This offers more people per house and more rent as it upgrades. However, production building costs will far outweigh the money that you receive from housing, which is where one of the more interesting game mechanics start to come into play. Similar to the real world, no town is completely self-sufficient. This means while you may have a town with an abundance of iron ore, your town may have no access to the production of fabrics. Trading is a massive component of the game. Each town you play has access to several trade routes with other towns. These require money to open the trade route and you can then import and export materials that you need. Money management is a big factor. Making sure that you don't go bust is crucial, which means making sure you have the best housing for the rent and you are regularly exporting your overstocks for cold hard cash. On top of your standard objectives, you'll also come across optional telegram missions, whereby you'll be rewarded for attaining certain objectives. Usually this comes in the form of exporting X amount of materials to town Y or making sure that you have excess materials in your depot. The rewards of these missions usually help you out a lot, and if you can achieve them, it is often well worth doing. City building is very similar to the Caesar games. Things like roads and housing don't cost anything to place. Production buildings will cost varying amounts of money, and you'll have to make sure that you have enough funds not only to build the building, but make sure you don't go bankrupt when the next round of wages comes in. Speaking of production, you also have to follow the process the entire way through. Simply building a wheat farm will not feed anyone. You'll also have to build a bakery. Even further down the line, as you unlock more complex industries, things like mines will require more than just money to upkeep, but also equipment too, for example pickaxes. I have to say I really enjoyed the city building in the game. It isn't as micro as some similar games, but it does capture the fun of the genre and makes the process simple and easy to use. Returning to the management side of things, you'll also have more to do than just watch your wallet. As your town grows, you'll have to deal with disasters such as fire, in which a fire department will be needed if you don't want fires to wipe out half your town. You'll also encounter a human element. As more people influx into your prospering town, you'll encounter unemployment, and if you don't provide local amenities such as a saloon, people will become unhappy. Crime is also a big factor too. 1849 was a tough time for folks, and the lure of a prospering town full of gold is too much temptation for some. You will have to build a sheriff to enforce some law in your town. If you don't, production buildings will start to get robbed, which not only halts production, but steals precious resources and time as well. Let's talk about the sound and the art design of the game. Now, the game's art design is great. The character models are especially fantastic as their hand-painted look really works well and the respective animations are solid. The soundtrack of the game also provides a very Old West feel. The musical tracks sound like you're watching an old western, which fits in really nicely with the rest of the game's aesthetic. Overall, 1849 is a solid indie city building sim that captures the fun of the previous games in the genre. It's well designed, well thought out, and its progression is well paced and also adds a good challenge for each new town. While it's not a micromanagement sim and it doesn't have the depth of bigger city games, it is well put together title that has plenty of value for money. If you enjoyed games like Pharaoh, 1849 will be right up your alley, but if you're looking for a more in-depth realistic city sim, then you may wish to look elsewhere. And that's 1849. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe and leave a comment, and I will see you next time.